Talofalava, Ulavinaka, Kiorana, Malode, Maloni. Good morning and good afternoon to all our participants. Welcome to the PNEA training, How to Get the Best Out of the PNEA. My name is Anastasia Amos-Stowers. I am the ACPMEA's coordinator here at SPREP and your moderator for today's event. As some of you may be aware, the Pacific Network for Environmental Assessment, PNEA, was created to support government officials from Pacific Island countries and territories who work with environmental impact assessment, or EIA, and strategic environmental assessment, or SEA. We would like to acknowledge the contributions to and assistance by the INFORM project and the ACPMEA's 3 project through SPREP to the PNEA to support our member countries. The objective of the training today is to introduce our participants to the PNEA, taking you through a brief history of the portal and why it was created, and showing you how to use some of the tools and functionalities on the portal. Today's event is also an opportunity to hear from our participants and get your feedback on how we can create a shared and collaborative visions for the PNEA network. We encourage and welcome you to ask questions and participate in our event. If you have any questions during the training, you can type these questions in the chat box and we will make sure to address them. If you would like to speak or join in today's Talanoa, you can raise your hand and we will give you the floor to speak. For information, this training session is being recorded. To start our program today, I now invite Mr. Jope Davitanivalu, Acting Director for the Environmental Monitoring and Governance Program at SPREP, to lead us in a prayer. Acting Director.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Moderator. And a very good Friday to all of you this morning. And may I kindly request that we bow our head and close our eyes in a word of prayer, please. Let us pray. Icoba na tamay kimami walo malangi me bagaroro ko tag sa tingan na ramni me harus katingan anu nilewa kata sa tingan lo mamni gurura me bakasa kating lo malangi. Dear Lord, our Heavenly Father, we pause at this juncture to say thank you for loving us and protecting us this morning. We uplift the program that is in front of us today. We ask for your Holy Spirit to guide us. Thank you for the life of our brothers and sisters who are connected from outside Samoa, from the various organizations they are representing and the countries they come from. Thank you for their lives. Thank you too for the life of the SPREP as an organization. We have the Director General here, Rioto Kosilatu. Thank you for his life. And also the life of the speakers. Dear Lord, the purpose of our meeting today is to raise our capacity to know how we can manage our environment better. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to fellowship with Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Director Jope, for our prayer and devotion this afternoon. It is now my great privilege to invite the Director General of SPREP, Mr. Leota Kosilatu, for his opening remarks. Director General.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Can I say talofa and good afternoon to everyone who's attending this training session from all over the region. And I also acknowledge all of our speakers who are present here today and those who are joining us online. I'd like to welcome all of our government representatives, officials, practitioners, and of course our SPREP staff, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure for me to say a few words to by way of opening remarks for this PNEA training. Some of you are aware the PNEA was launched in 2016 as an initiative of SPREP's Environmental Monitoring Governance Program, which is aimed at providing support for our Pacific Island countries and territories who work with environmental impact assessment and also strategic environmental assessment. We live at a time where things have changed so dramatically. There are many challenges, new challenges have emerged in the last 1 or 2 years. And that means that the web-based tool not only becomes our platform for engagement and delivering training and services like that, but it also serves as a community of practice network that brings together a wide range of key stakeholders who are interested and are involved, of course, in EIA and the SEA space. And of course, we're talking about a range of different people, regulators, experts, practitioners, academics, and those who are enthusiastic about this type of work. The vision of PNEA is strongly linked to the SPREP strategic plan, and in particular, Regional Goal 4, which states that Pacific people and environment benefit from commitment to and best practice of environmental governance. The portal aims to be the leading regional network community of practice for impact assessment in the Pacific region and will continue to contribute to regional sustainable development initiatives. This training complements SPREP's current capacity building program for environmental impact assessment and strategic environmental assessment, including the recently launched regional SEA guidelines, along with the Coastal Tourism Development EIA guidelines, and the regional EIA guidelines, which have been in operation for some time. Today, we'll be focusing on the PNEA portal and how it will help us to make this use of it. And it is important for us to remember that, as I've mentioned already, the PNEA is more than just a portal. It is a community of practice for environmental assessment in the region. PNEA, of course, can help you put in touch yourselves with other environmental assessment specialists, of course, experts around the region. The PNEA, as some of you are aware, will provide access to publicly available EIA and SEA reports from around the region and highlighting relevant events and news relevant to the Pacific region in the area of EIA and SEA. Today, you will be hearing about the history of PNEA in a bit more detail and its achievements, of which some of you have been a key part of. And I'm talking about, for example, the establishment of the Pacific Learning Partnership, or the PLP, at the 2019 Brisbane Conference on International Association for Impact Assessment. Some of you who were at that conference joining us today will, of course, we're glad that you could be part of this. And we're looking forward, of course, to your experience and your expertise to share with us. I'd like to conclude my remarks this afternoon by saying that the Secretariat and the EMG team and all of the other SPREP staff who have relevant experience and expertise will continue to provide support to the region, to our member countries, to those that need support from us, including our partners. So today, let's celebrate this important achievement for the region, and I want to thank you for joining us, and look forward to the rest of our program. Thank you, Martha.
Thank you very much, Director General, for those very insightful opening remarks. At this time, I would like to welcome Dr. Gregory Barbara, who is the Environmental Assessment and Planning Officer in the Environmental Monitoring and Governance Program of SPREP. Dr. Barbara will give us a brief background on the Pacific Network for Environmental Assessment and how the portal complements the EIA capacity building efforts of SPREP. Dr. Barbara, please.
Thank you for that introduction, Anastasia, and thank you, Director General, for your kind words about the work of the PNEA and a little bit of a pre-background about what we've been doing. Start at the beginning of the slide. Thank you very much. So for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to try and cover some of the work that we've been doing within the PNEA, Pacific Network for Environmental Assessment. As our Director General already explained, it was launched in 2016, although it was envisaged and created amongst the members. It comes out of the work that EMG has been doing for at least 25 years now in supporting EIA and SEA capacity building in the region. SPREP has been the penultimate capacity building organization for the region for that time, developing up several guidelines and templates, helping countries with revising and developing their own environmental impact assessment regulations, as well as environmental legislation. In 2016, my predecessor, for those of you with very keen eyes, will see her standing in the middle of that photo, and my now acting director, Jope, who you can probably also spot in that photo, decided that it was time for the capacity building efforts of EMG to go beyond just the face-to-face and to create a website where we could focus our materials, where people could come together, benefit as a network, request assistance, as well as further information. So there were templates and other guidelines which they were putting up on the website. It was a very new idea at the time when the site was started. As you can see, there were not too many members, a little under 20 when it was first launched in actually 2017 by the time the site got up. But it was for all the Pacific Island countries and territories. And it was really a focal point for the work we've been doing for the last 20 odd years. Once the site was launched, it helped to promote and link the work that SPREP EMG is doing with the SPREP members, the donors, and importantly partners, as well as engaging with future partners. I'll get to that in a moment in regards to the World Bank and ADB and USP. It was to increase our ability to build the capacity in the region. As you would all know, for those of you who work in the region, there's a lot of ad hoc work that's done within EIAs. Often you're bombarded with guidelines and regulations and requirements by donors, and then other times you're left to pretty much fend for yourself. So where SPREP comes in is to try and link all that together and help you navigate all of those different avenues and waters of the EIA process and SEA. In 2017, after the launch, we continued on with the face-to-face trainings in country, with training in Niue, Tokelau, Nuku Atoll, Republic of Marshall Islands, and Nauru. For some of these countries and atolls in Tokelau, this was their first experience with EIA training. We also launched the French translation of the original EIA guidelines, which have been published in English in 2016. Oh, and at the very bottom right-hand corner, you will also see my predecessor holding up proudly her young son at the time. That was sadly one of the reasons that she had to leave SPREP, was to continue on with her family, but it gave me an opportunity to join. In 2018, I joined SPREP along with Jope, continued the work with EIA capacity building and developing up the initial frameworks for the SEA guidelines. There was continued engagement with Nauru, this time for the development of their environmental bill, Solomon Islands for more EIA capacity building, Tuvalu also for EIA capacity building and socialization of their new EIA regulations, which they had just completed, which were based on the SPREP EIA guidelines. We participated in regional meetings as well, In Fiji, there was a regional sustainability development workshop where we met with members of World Bank and ADB, and we discussed strengthening our partnership or building a partnership with ADB and the World Bank for how we could actually synergize some of the efforts that we were putting in place for capacity building. My colleague Jocko presented at the Pacific Judges deep sea mining on deep sea mining and explained to them the importance of the use of EIA with the now burgeoning interest in deep sea mining in the region. We also launched with SPTO, one of the other crop agencies, the coastal tourism guidelines for coastal tourism development and EIA processes. This was launched at the end of 2018. They were also published in French the same year. Early 2019, we continued on with our face-to-face workshops, this time starting up in the north of the Pacific. I visited Federated States of Micronesia, starting with Chuuk, and providing capacity building in EIA to their regulatory officers, project managers for major development projects, as well as their NGOs. Spent about a week up there. Because you're in the North Pacific, it's a bit difficult to jump all the way back to SPREP. So I took a trip over to Yap, and we continued on capacity building in the state of Yap for Federated States of Micronesia. The reason we had to do 2 sets of trainings there is because each state within Micronesia has slightly different legislation. So there's a requirement that we take them through their own legislation and how the requirements of EIA fit in their development process and approvals. Shortly after returning to SPREP, we began organising an event. We actually began organising this event in 2018. It was the event for, as our Director General has already talked about, the signing of the Pacific Learning Partnership on Environmental and Social Safeguards. This was a very important partnership which we signed with the World Bank, ADB, or Asia Development Bank, and the other crop agency, the University of South Pacific, USP. As you can see, there were also a number of Pacific delegates who attended this meeting. In total, there were just over 30. There were 32 Pacific Island delegates. SPREP itself sponsored a number of them. We also acquired funding from World Bank and the Asia Development Bank to bring over representatives from Pacific Island countries and territories to not only witness the signing of this important partnership, but also participate in the International Association of Impact Assessment annual conference, which was being held in Brisbane that year. During that meeting, we also met with the New Zealand branch of Impact Assessment and their presidents, and we began arrangements for a future conference at the end of that year. We also held the first ever face-to-face PNEA Talanoa, where we sat down with the delegates who had attended the conference and talked about their vision for the PNEA and what they wanted to get out of it. As I said, 2019 was very important. The PLP ESS, or the PLP as we just call it here, was a very important partnership that we signed. It aligned the World Bank and USP and ADB efforts for capacity building in the region, giving us a link to how we all deliver, trying to help coordinate the work that we do and provide to the member countries. The PLP itself was based on the SPREP EIA guidelines and the SEA good practice that we've been providing to the region. It was acknowledged by the World Bank within their current environmental social framework as good practice. It's the first time a document of this type has been referred to that isn't a World Bank document. We also held a side event at SPREP meeting 29, as well as obtaining a full-time in-house World Bank consultant based within SPREP to help us with the capacity build, and delivered our first joint World Bank SPREP EIA training specifically for the mining sector in Solomon Islands. Shortly after returning, we then went on with our capacity building across the region, visiting Kiribati, providing EIA capacity building for around 40 attendees at the training. It was not just government officials from within the regulatory offices, it was also government officials from other departments, as well as the private sector and a few NGOs who attended the training. It's very important when we do the EIA training that we involve key stakeholders, because they need to understand how the EIA process works and its importance in their development. Rather than seeing it as a roadblock, they then learn how it actually benefits their development. Towards the end of the year, I travelled to Tokelau, this time to Atafu, where we provided EIA training and capacity building for the people on the island. We brought across as well some members from Makanonu, because we began socialising the idea of an EIA policy for Tokelau, and have now drafted up and submitted that policy to their general whānau for approval. Towards the very end of the year was when we completed the World Bank and SPREP focused mining EIA training. We brought in a specialist in mining from the World Bank, Rosie Davey, that you can see in the top of the screen there. She attended a number of mining sites with the Mines Division and Environmental Department from Solomon Islands, taking them around and inspecting some mine sites and the practices that were being undertaken about mine closure and better mitigation measures. At the very end of the year for 2019 is when we came together again, bringing many of the participants from IAIA 19 Pacific Delegation to the NZIAIA conference that was being held in Auckland. We were only unfortunately able to get 11 to come over because at the time there was a measles epidemic occurring in Samoa and Auckland. So a lot of our Northern Pacific delegates opted not to come in the end, as well as our Samoan participants. But we still managed to have 11 of us come along. We ran a workshop where we socialized the draft EIA guidelines, got their feedback, because the SEA process has to be, or the guidelines we develop has to be for the Pacific. So we really wanted their feedback about what they thought of the guidelines and any final tweaks that we need to do to them. The benefit of being there in Auckland and going to the conference was that we also managed to do some more capacity building at the actual conference and present and share with our New Zealand brothers and sisters. Our SPREP DG also attended this meeting and was an invited speaker to open the conference. As I said, SPREP was invited as key speakers at the meeting, along with a number of our Pacific Island countries. Tuvalu, Vanuatu, and Kiribati all presented, sharing their experiences and their skills in EIA from across the region. We were also able to participate in a special capacity building event, which was organised for us by New Zealand Transport Authority and the conference organisers, specifically for the Pacific Islanders. The event was a really good success. We were able to visit a number of coastal developments in Auckland and see how the EIA process helped to guide stakeholder engagement, protect cultural heritage and values, as well as adapt to sea level rises and concerns for increasing traffic in Auckland. We also held our second live Talanoa face-to-face. The feedback from the meeting was, this is a fantastic thing that we're doing with the PNEA. We need to continue doing this. We're getting a lot out of it. There was a lot of South-South sharing. Fiji came along and was asking whether or not when we were going to do the next one, perhaps we would hold it in Fiji. Tonga was in strong agreement. But then we had the global lockdown in 2020. This caused a little bit of a derailment in many of our plans, as you'll know. Most of our travel was stopped pretty abruptly as of March. I remember I was in Fiji at the time, participating in a BB&J preparatory meeting. So the BB&J is a international legally binding instrument that's being proposed for the protection of biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction. I was in the meeting with a number of Pacific Island delegates from the New York missions as they were preparing for how they would take the process of EIA and SEA to the UN and advocate for its use in the instrument of BB&J. It was at that time that we heard that the COVID outbreak had occurred in Rome as well as in New York. And the meeting unfortunately had to be disbanded a few days early so that our New York delegates could return home to their families. shortly thereafter, we all found out that the borders were closing across the globe. But that didn't stop the PNEA and the work we were doing. We continued on and finalised the SEA guidelines, eventually having them endorsed at the SPREP 30 meeting. But we also had to rethink how we delivered the trainings that we would normally give in country. Kiribati, thankfully, were more than happy to trial some virtual trainings, and they were the first to cap off the rank, where we used the resources of the PLP, partnering with the ADB office in South Tarawa and our World Bank consultant here based at SPREP. We arranged for a series of webinar trainings, which we would normally do over the course of a week, but knowing how tiring webinars can be and connectivity issues, we decided instead to run them over the course of several weeks with just a few half-day sessions per session. The training was such a success that we actually used it to highlight some gaps within Kiribati's then EIA process, and catalysed the review and now redrafting of their environmental bill, or to be their new environmental management, which is currently being reviewed by their government. Throughout the lockdowns in 2020 and this year, we've continued to deliver and participate in multiple virtual capacity events and conferences across the region and globally, networking EIA in the region and our members with international conferences. We again participated in IA 20, this time holding a Pacific hub here at SPREP and inviting our Samoan colleagues to come along and join, as well as providing the links to our Pacific Island countries to use to log in and download or watch the live conference via video. We also presented at the Nature Conference, so you can see Joppe in the bottom left-hand corner, and ran a series of webinars with the World Bank on EIA and social impact assessment towards the end of 2020. These were 8 webinars that we ran in total. We also decided that the PNEA needed a major facelift and overhaul with its functionality. We were able to obtain funding through the UNEP Swedish Fund and the ACPMEA2, then ACPMEA2 Inform project to help fund the revamp of the site. And Ivan will take you through shortly some of these new features. As you can see, we featured the 3 sets of guidelines on the website, but we also feature many other things. The site grew dramatically also during the lockdown, from the initial 18 to 20 registered members of the site that started in 2017 to just over 200 members. So we now have, we boast a membership of close to 230 members, and we'll probably see that increase hopefully today if you will see the benefits of the registration. I'd also like to proudly announce that the membership for the PNEA does reflect the community of practice. It's almost a 1-to-1 ratio of members, slightly more male members on the site. But we also have a number of undisclosed gender members on the site, and that's perfectly fine. If you don't want to identify as either male or female, that's who you are, and we want you on the site. It's excellent to see that we have such a good diversity on the site, because ultimately the PNEA has to represent the community of practice itself, has to represent the EIA community in the Pacific. And for those of you who aren't familiar with who we actually are, going from left to right on the screen, you can see our now acting director, Joppe, who was one of the founding members of the PNEA, myself, and our newest expansion of the site, and who is now going to take you through how to run your own account and join and get the most out of the site, our latest member, Ivan Diar. So for that, I'd like to thank you all for listening to me on this brief history of the PNEA. Hope you have a better understanding of why it was created and what we've been doing in the past. What we want you to think about now as you're listening to me and you're about to listen to Ivan is, what do you want from the PNEA, the community practice, going forward? What is it that the site can do for you, and what is it the actual community practice can do for you? Because ultimately, it's what we all do together that makes it a really robust community. And I thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Barbara, for a very informative presentation on the background of PNEA, as well as showing us a series of capacity building initiatives that have taken place in and around our region. We have a hand up from Maria. Maria, you have the floor. Maria, can you hear us? I think you may have to unmute.
Hello, is that me that you're talking to?
There you are.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I must have knocked it accidentally. I had no question. I'm enjoying listening to the presentations. It wasn't putting my hand up deliberately, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maria.
My apologies.
We have Patricia Parkinson with her hand up. Patricia?
Thank you very much for this session and for this presentation. I'm a consultant in Fiji, environmental law consultant. I'm very interested with this network, and I was wondering from all the Talanoa and the capacity building sessions that you had in the region, what in your view are the main issue with environmental impact assessment? Is it mostly in terms of the way the regulations or the legislation is set up, or is it mostly a problem of enforcement or other problem? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patricia. I will ask Dr. Barbara or Alvin Diarra to address your question, please.
Thank you, Anastasia, and thank you, Patricia, for your question. We do actually have a session scheduled for Talanoas and questions, but I will quickly address this one. So your question in regards to what is the main issues with EIA, yes, you basically answered your own question. It is both of those things. Enforcement is one of the main issues that we come across during the trainings, but during the Talanoa, we were talking with the directors. Their main concerns is about capacity building for their staff and actual capability. So having enough staff to do what they need to do and process through, as well as upgrades to their own country's legislation. So it's a twofold issue that we continually face. We have new staff often coming in, or when staff become very highly skilled, they might move out of their role and have to be replaced, and then new staff train back up again. There's also, with changing developments and complexities of developments, the requirement for updating of legislation, as well as upskilling of staff to be able to understand the risks and mitigation requirements for these new developments. So these are the main areas that we come across over and over. And during the Talanoa, Dr. Ivan and myself will talk more about this along with all of you. So thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barbara. Patricia?
No, am I still, can you hear me now?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I'm muted. Okay. No, thank you. That's a good answer. Thank you. And I look forward to discussing it further. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next item on our program for today's event is I would like to introduce a few country representatives to share their experiences and challenges with regards to the EIA in their countries. They will also be sharing with us how the PNEA has been able to bridge some of the gaps and challenges they face and what they hope for the future of the portal. It is both an honor and privilege to introduce and welcome Norma Tor, who is the Principal Officer for Environmental Impact Assessment with the Department of Environmental Protection and Conservation in Vanuatu. She currently manages the Environmental Planning and Impact Assessment Division and works together with developers and communities to ensure that all projects in Vanuatu are sustainable and contribute positively to the country's national plans and policies. Welcome, Norma. Can you hear us? Norma? You may have to unmute yourself, Norma, please. Okay, we can come back to you, Norma. We can now move on to welcome and introduce Tilia Tima, who is the Acting Director of Environment for Tuvalu. She first joined the Department of Environment in 2012 as an Assistant Environment Officer and now is the Biodiversity Officer. She's heavily engaged with promoting, coordinating, and developing biodiversity activities within Tuvalu environment and regional community. Tilia Tima, you have the floor now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. I'm sorry I can't on my video because I might have internet connection, but I can on it later. Thank you very much, SPREP and the PNEA team for the opportunity for me to have a brief talk on this platform. I will just briefly explain or just update the progress of our EIA in Tuvalu. Tuvalu formulated its first EIA regulation in 2014. The regulation was later amended in 2017, which included the social impact assessment, which is part of the EIA process. As Greg has mentioned, capacity building was carried out by SPREP then in 2017. The National Strategy for Development Plan 2021 to 2030, they highlights the importance of enforcement of our environment and social impact assessment. Just a couple of months ago, government has also developed and formulated the building code. We are pleased to be part of the consultation, and this was in line with our EIA processes. Since then, the department has advocated and worked tirelessly to raise awareness and strengthen EIAs within our country. In addition, apart from the EIA regulation, we have developed some templates to assist us with our work. Templates includes application forms such as EIA screening checklist, EIA scoping checklist, EIA conditions, as well as monitoring checklist. We have received quite a lot of proposals since then from developers for the different developments and are now screening all applications to determine the level of EIA that is required. This could be either no EIA, we could approve it without conditions, or we could approve the EIA with certain conditions, a prelim EIA or full EIA. As Tuvalu has scattered islands, most of the developments are carried out on the outer islands. For instance, currently we have a World Bank funded project which focuses on developing boat harbors in selected islands. Since we have approved the development with certain conditions, the staff of the environment will have to visit the site to ensure proper monitoring of development and especially compliance of the developer to certain conditions that were set forth by our department. Thanks to COVID-19 pandemic, that we had time to visit sites once in a while. This is because we lack the human resource, hence an environment officer, one person may be multitasked to carry out activities within the country and also to attend regional, international meetings as well. We highly appreciate SPREP continued assistance in building capacity within our department, especially with staff turnover. Speaking fairly that I'm also new to these EIA processes and that we normally experience staff turnover. And we urge for continued support of SPREP to build our capacity through models like PNEA and training capacity to ensure that we follow the EIA regulation and also to assist us with our work and to keep Tuvalu healthy. This is to build our capacity within the department and also with new developments, and we need guidance from expert teams like SPREP.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tilia, for a very informative presentation. We'd like to go back to Norma. Norma, can you hear us? There's no sound from you, Norma. You heard a sound? Oh, there you are.
Finally.
Welcome, Norma. You have the floor now, madam.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for the technical problem. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to make this small talk about my experience using the PNEA website. I'm going to check again if you all can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you. So I started working with the Environmental Planning and Impact Assessment Division under the Department of Environmental Protection and Conservation, Vanuatu, in November 2016. And during that time, SPREP was already actively assisting Vanuatu with the environmental impact assessment processes with its laws and legislations. So the SPREP team conducted different trainings with the other Pacific Island countries, EIA practitioners, by which one of them was the strategic environmental assessment training that was held in Vanuatu back in 2018. I was also fortunate to be part or to have participated at the New Zealand Association for Impact Assessment in 2019 and the IAIA 19 conference in Australia. About the PNEA website, I have learned about it in the period between 2018 and 2019, and I've come to realize the benefits that one can obtain when accessing this network. As we all know, our countries are being faced every day with issues such as climate change and developmental impacts from projects. We also have our government of the day, which has their own national priorities and plans to implement them. Apart from that, we have our investors that come into the country to operate businesses such as tourism, agriculture, commercial farming, on foreshore, which are just some few of the many examples. Although we, the Pacific countries, have a lot in common, the projects differ based on their nature and scope of work and the location by which they would set up and operate in. The world, we all know the world is changing every day, and so we need to adapt to these changes. And the same goes for the different types of developments. The department has received many applications for different types of developments from private investors, communities, as well as the national government, from both small scale, medium, and large scale developments. And we know that those developments bring in both positive and negative impacts to the changing environment. However, we need to ensure that those impacts, if not prevented, but minimized through proper management. As I've already mentioned, an impact is an impact, whether it is small, large, small, medium, or large. It is also an impact whether it is sourced, whether the funding comes from a private investor or the government or a donor. And it is also an impact if it is from an individual or a company or business company. I thank SPREP for introducing the PNE website that has brought us the Pacific community of EIA practitioners together to share our knowledge and experiences on the developments happening around us. I will share with you my experiences when using the PNEA website and the challenges that Vanuatu is facing when implementing its EIA laws and EIA regulation. I will say I see PNEA as my advisor and rescuer when I am faced with applications for environmental permit where the proposed development is the first to have happened in the country, or if the proposed development will trigger a lot of environmental impacts. I take, for example, a tourism project that the application was submitted around 2017 or 2018. It is a huge, big scale project, and the developer wants to construct a 6-story building with a hanging swimming pool over the Port Vila seafront area. I tried looking out for other similar project types in the country, but could not find one. So I turned to the PNE website for help, which I have to say that community is one of the robust networks, and I got an advice response on that same day on how I could proceed on with the application. And for that, I'm always grateful. There are also very helpful materials on the website that have always helped me in guiding me through my assessments on the project applications. In fact, I see PNEA as my historian or Talanoa, where I know like-minded people like me who love what we do, share everything about EIA and have nothing to hide. And I believe that this will continue on for future generations to feed from the information published on the network. Apart from my experiences using the PNEA, Vanuatu is also faced with challenges with regard to the implementation of the EIA laws and legislations. We have received mainly a lot of infrastructure development projects over the recent years. And we as a regulator have come to approve the projects without any sort of standard systems in place. But slowly we are working through them in improving that system. We have not come to the finish line yet, but one day I'm sure I believe that we will. We have also had some legislative changes to the Principal Act, which is the Environmental Protection and Conservation Act, and have finally amended our EIA regulations in 2019. These changes are significant to us and are required to move on to our next stage, which is the Code of Conducts and Guidelines for the EIA for different developments. We also lack human resource, rather projects, particularly government projects that are we also lack human resource and political support especially with projects that are mostly politically influenced and sometimes or mostly try to bypass the EIA processes, which they themselves approve in the national parliament to become an act. We are also faced with the low capacity in monitoring enforcement of EIA related issues. At the moment, we only have one department compliance officer who not only serves EIA-related notices to developers, but also oversees 6 other legislations under the department. And we are currently in discussion to amend the current EIA laws again, as we have come to realize loopholes that need to be addressed. Again, these are my experiences and challenges that I share with you. And I believe that together we have the power to make decisions to ensure all our environments are safe, not only for us, but for our generations to come. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you, Thomas, for kind attention. Play you, me, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Norma, for sharing with us your experiences from Vanuatu. Thank you. Last but not the least, it is my great pleasure to introduce and welcome Tamara Utule Lui, who is here with us this afternoon today. Ms. Lui is the Principal Strategic Planner for the Planning and Urban Management Agency, or PUMA, of Samoa. PUMA was created to prepare strategic urban planning tools, development consent, and compliance of development activity, as well as environmental impact control and compliance. Thank you, Ms. Lui, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Talofa lava and warm Pacific greetings to everyone tuning in from near and afar. Before I start, I would just like to express my sincere gratitude to the hosts of this webinar, SPREP, Director General Latu, Leota Kosi Latu, and of course, the EMG Deputy Director, and to the team behind the Pacific Network for Environmental Assessment who are conducting this training. It's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here and to be able to share my work and our experience with the PNEA platform. So just to introduce myself again, I'm Tamara and I work here at the Planning and Urban Management Agency, or PUMA, as a strategic planner. And to sort of set the scene, the Planning and Management Agency here is a government agency in Samoa that was officially set up in 2002 with our legislation endorsed in 2004. The main responsibilities of this office is to assess the environmental impacts of development, the development of environmental, urban, and development planning strategic documents, and to assist the management and resolution of public complaints pertaining to amenity and pollution issues. And very specifically, PUMA is by law the national office that is responsible for managing the EIA process. And our responsibility in this process is to ensure the compliance of all developments, not only to our development consent process, but to the EIA process detailed in our act and also the regulations. We are a relatively small office of about 20 people, and 6 of that 20 are designated for development and EIA assessment. So because we are a very small team, we really value building the capacity of the colleagues that we do have and ensuring that they have all the tools that they could use to aid in their assessment work. I'm sure, like our environmental assessment brothers and sisters across the Pacific, having access to any data platform is always an opportunity that is valued. So this is the beauty of the Pacific Network on Environmental Assessment portal. It's an extremely valuable networking and data platform that is available to people with an interest in environmental assessment. And I think best of all, registration is free. For a financially challenged agency like ours, it's always a gem to find portals that we're able to access freely. So the PNEA hosts a lot of knowledge in forms of literature and reports, which are great for our research work, and also to learn from other case studies that are available on environmental assessment. Best of all, being a Pacific platform, the content on PNEA is primarily customized for our region. Through PNEA, we are able to connect to other Pacific content and learn about how environmental assessment is being handled by our fellow Pacific nations, which is extremely relevant, I think, for our work. The Talanoa Forum of PNEA as well takes that to a whole other level by providing a space where we can directly ask questions and engage with other users who are on the portal. So, and I think in times like this, where, as we all know, traveling is restricted and we cannot physically visit our fellow nations across the region, having a platform where we can still access information and link up to users within a click of a button is extremely useful. So we really look forward to having more webinars such as this to learn more on how we can fully maximize and utilize the portal to all of its uses. And we wish PNEA all the very best. Yeah, tough time.
Thank you very much, Tamara, for that very informative presentation, sharing Samoa's experience. Thank you. At this point in time, I'd like to thank you to our country representatives for sharing your respective experiences relating to EIA. Before we move on, our participants are welcome to ask any questions to our panel of speakers and country representatives that you've all heard from this afternoon. You're also welcome to share briefly on your experiences. Please use the raise your hand control setting, and we will give you the floor. I see no hands raised and no questions in the chat box, so that tells me we can move on to the next item of the program. Please allow me to introduce to you all the PNEA portal. For that, I would like to welcome Mr. Ivan Diarra, who is the Technical Support Officer for the PNEA program. Ivan is responsible for managing and engaging with users who are on the platform, as well as developing knowledge products and communication materials for the community. Mr. Diarra, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Moderator, and welcome once again to all our participants. I can see quite a few PNEA members joining us today, so I welcome you all once again. I take it by now that you all have a fair idea of the PNEA, thanks to the introduction we've had by Dr. Barbara and the vibrant Talanoa session we've had with our country representatives. So please allow me now to introduce you to the PNEA portal itself. Let me just go back to the presentation. All right, so on the screen before you, there's a quick outline for what we're discussing today. First, I would like to bring you all along and take you on a live demo of the PNEA portal, showing you all the tools and the functions of the portal and how you can effectively use these tools. Today, I'll show you how to access the PNEA portal, how to register and become a member, how to seek for any EIA-related issues through the portal, how to use our Talanoa discussion forum, and how you can access the member-exclusive resources that we have on the portal. After that, I would like to touch on briefly on the PNEA newsletter and email blast, and how we use these tools to keep the community informed and engaged. Thirdly, I'd also like to discuss how our users can contribute to this community of practice that we're trying to build, how you can help us continue to grow and expand this network. And lastly, of course, we'll open the floor to a Talanoa, where you will let us know if you have any questions regarding the PNEA portal, what you want to see for the portal, and share with us your experience using the portal or working with EIA in general. So, without much further ado, join me as we explore the PNEA portal. Let me just share my screen here. All right. We have okay, I believe we can all see my screen. Sorry for the little hiccup there. But yes, so how do you access the PNEA portal? Well, simply in your browser, you just type in pnea.sprep.org. That's pnea.sprep.org. I'm not sure if you can see that clearly. And yes, once you do that, you'll find yourself on the PNEA homepage or the PNEA landing page. Now, while the PNEA works well on all browsers, some of our users have occasionally have issues trying to access the portal. If you do encounter any issues trying to access the portal, just try using a different browser. We found that that usually fixes the problem. But if you still have any issue trying to access the portal, please just reach out to us here at the PNEA and we'll be sure to fix your issue. So yes, before you all is the PNEA homepage. Very simple and very straightforward. Why don't we go through some of the elements on the page? So first, big and bold before you, we have what we call the carousel slide. Now the carousel slide is where we highlight news, recent and upcoming events, training materials, new publications, and so on. Anything that is new and relevant for the community, we really try to have that highlighted on the carousel slide. As you can see, you can scroll through the slide by using either of the arrows on the right or the left. And below each slide, there is a quick caption telling you what the slide is about. Now let's scroll a little further down. And here you will find 4 panels containing some information and resources. First, we have the green panel here, which tells you a little bit about the PNEA and what the portal has to offer. The blue panel on the right tells you why you should join the network and some of the benefits of becoming a member. The orange panel on the bottom tells you how you can seek for assistance with any EIA or SEA related processes. And lastly, the purple panel here simply shows you some of the top discussions going on in the discussion forum. Now, if you look to the top of the page, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but you see some additional menu items. So first we have the home button, which of course takes you back to the home page. Next to that, we have the request assistance button, which is simply a clone of the request assistance button we have here in the orange panel, and lets you seek for assistance with any EIA or SEA processes. Moving on, we have the discussion button. It takes you to the Talanoa discussion forum. I will be discussing on that very shortly. Next to that, we have the newsletter link, which is where all the monthly newsletters issued for the PNEA are stored and archived. You can click on that and go through all of them. Next, we have the resource library, which is where we store and host all the documents and materials for EIA practitioners. And lastly, we have the networks button, which is where you will find some links to other additional online resources, just like the PNEA. That can also help you in regards to EIA and environmental assessment. Now, we scroll to the bottom of the page, you simply find some more links to other SPREP portals, such as the Pacific Environment Portal, the Pacific Island Protected Areas Portal, and so on. And you also find some links to SPREP's strategic priorities. You can click on any of these links to read these items further. But that is simply the PNEA homepage. Again, very simple and very straightforward. But before I proceed, I'd like to know if our participants can see our screen clearly, you can hear what we're saying, and if you have any questions regarding the PNEA homepage. Okay, I assume all our participants can hear us clearly and can understand what I'm saying. So that's great. Why don't we move on? Okay, that's great. Thank you. So now that you've seen the PNEA portal, you might be wondering, so how can I join this wonderful portal? How can I become a member and take advantage of all these tools and resources? That's a good question. There's actually 2 ways you can join and become a part of the PNEA. By looking at the blue panel here, there's 2 options to join the PNEA portal. One is to subscribe to the mailing list. Now, by using this option, unfortunately, you will not have access to all the tools and all the functions that we have on the portal, but you will simply receive regular updates from us through our newsletter and through the email blast that we send out. So if you choose to subscribe to the mailing list, you can simply click on the subscribe to the mailing list button, enter your name in the field provided, as well as your email, and then click subscribe. And voila, you will be subscribed to our mailing list and our newsletter. Now, but if you choose to become a full member of the PNEA and take advantage of all these wonderful tools and resources that we have, I invite you to register and join the network. Now, to do that, you simply click on Join the Network button located here in the blue panel. Or if you navigate to the top of the page, you will find a little register button up there. You can click either of this button and they will do the same thing. So why don't we click on register here? And you will find yourself on our registration page. Here you will find some fields that you have to complete in order to become a part of the portal. Now, it's very important that you provide the correct details when registering for the PNEA. The reason is because we vet every account that is registered on the portal. We do this because we don't allow marketing on the site, and we also don't allow consultants to advertise their services on the portal. We want this to simply be a safe environment where our EIA practitioners from the region can network and share ideas freely and openly. Okay? So why don't I use my details here as an example to show you how to register for the portal. So here for the email, I'll simply enter my email address. Go ahead and click that. Next, I'll enter my first name and then my last name. Next, I'll enter my password. Now, for the PNEA portal, you need to provide a password with at least 10 characters. Now, it's up to you whether you use a combination of numbers and letters. We'll welcome you and we'll advise you to use letters, numbers, and symbols in your password so that your account is safe and secure. Now, it's very important that you also make sure you save your password, just so you remember your password. So I enter my password here. Next, I'll select the country. As you may all know, the PNEA is a resource that is only available for EIA practitioners from the Pacific region. So here we have a list of SPREP member countries. If you work or live in any of these countries, you're welcome to join the portal. So here I'll select Samoa. Although optional, you can also provide your phone number. I'll enter my phone number here. And next, very importantly, please also provide your work position. Here, I'll just enter what I do. Officer. All right. Next, you should indicate your expertise by ticking one of these 3 boxes. So for those of our participants who have experience or expertise with environmental impact assessment, go ahead and tick the first box here. For those who also have experience working with strategic environmental assessment, you can go ahead and click the second box. But for those who are perhaps new to EIA and have no experience, no EIA or SEA experience, you can go ahead and tick the last box. We've seen some of our members who have ticked all 3 boxes when registering. Please, we advise you not to do that. Please, you're welcome to either indicate if you have an EIA experience or if you do not have any experience in that regard. So here I'll select no EIA or SEA experience. And then next, I'll advise you to leave this box ticked so you can receive regular updates through our PNEA newsletter and our regular email blast. Lastly, also tick the box to agree to our privacy policy and to our terms of service. You can click on any of the links to read more on those. Lastly, complete the capture by ticking on the box to show that you're not a robot. And when you're done and you ensure that all your details are accurate and correct, you go ahead and click Create New Account. Now, as you can see, your account has been registered. Now, your registration request will be sent to a PNEA coordinator, either Dr. Barbara or myself, and we will vet and approve your account. Now, this process usually takes less than 24 hours, and that's why it's important that you provide us with your correct details so that we can expedite this process. And that is simply how to register for the portal. Now, once you're registered, there's one last very important step that you have to complete. And this is where a lot of our users usually forget to complete. You have to also activate your account from the link that will be sent to your email. So if I just navigate to my email here, you'll receive an email from the PNEA telling you that your account has been registered. Now, there will be a second email that will be sent to you. Here in my promotions, I can find the email here from the Talanoa. Please pay close attention to that email. That is very important. Once you find that email, you can go ahead and click on it, and you find an activation link within the email. Please, I welcome you to go ahead and click on that activation link, and your account is now activated. So you are now a full member of the PNEA portal. So now that you registered for an account in the PNEA, how can you log into your account? Well, simple. Just scroll to the bottom of the top of the page. At the very right, you will find the login button. Simply click on the login button, and you'll be taken to the login page. Once you enter your details and you log in, you'll find your account information presented before you. And congratulations, you're now a member of the PNEA portal. Now, as we know, with most of our members and users, most of our members usually change jobs, they get promoted, or they change emails, and sometimes they lose access to their account. So how can you change your details on the portal to reflect any changes in your position or in your email? Well, that's very simple. When you're logged into your account, just navigate to the top of the page and find the My Account button. Simply click on that, and you'll be taken to your account, and you can see your account details. Now just go below your account name and you find the Edit button. Go ahead and click that. And you will see fields with your previously provided information in the boxes there. So all you have to do is change whatever information you want to change or update. You can change your email address if that's necessary. You can change emails. You can also change your work position if perhaps you've gotten promoted or changed jobs. You can also change your expertise. So maybe you previously had no experience with EIA, and now by working in the field, you've got more experience with EIA. You go ahead and indicate that by ticking on the EIA box right there. So once you've made all the relevant changes to your account, you can go ahead and click on the Save button at the bottom of the page. Now your account details have been saved. And that is simply how to register and log in and make changes to your account on the PNEA. Let me ask if any of our participants have any question, or maybe you face some challenges when trying to register for the PNEA portal? I believe we have a question. So we have a question here that's asking just scroll please. So we have a question here from Betri Tilfas asking, does this site relate to the environmental data portal? Because when I registered, it automatically put my account information from the data portal into the fields. I'll pass that out to Dr. Greg Barbara, who knows the site a lot. Yeah.
Thank you, Ivan, and thank you, Betwin. Now, it's possible when you did that, because the two sites are linked, that your account details were just copied over from your, basically your internet cache history from your Google or whatever browser you're using. Now, while the original portal is actually affiliated with the PNEA, you need to register separately for the PNEA to be a member, because it is a closed community. The community of practice is only available to those who go through the full registration process. So while the fields may have been pre-filled, until you actually click the submit button and complete your registration, you are not a member of the PNEA. And as Ivan said, you will then be sent some confirmation emails, which you need to click on, one for the PNEA and one for the Talanoa, because the Talanoa is on a parallel site to the PNEA, which Ivan will explain shortly how to use that. So while they are affiliated, they are not the same sites. You need to actually complete the registration for both.
Thank you, Greg. I believe we have another question here from Patricia Parkinson. She's asking, can you clarify who is eligible to register? Well, yes, I stated during the registration process that we invite anybody who works in the EIA field or in the environmental impact assessment area to join the portal. But we don't recommend consultants advertising their services on the portal. We want this to simply be a portal for EIA practitioners to connect, network in regards to the challenges that they face on the field. I'll also pass to Dr. Greg to add onto that.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Patricia. I think I understand your question as you identified yourself as a consultant working with Fiji. We do have consultants on the platform. When it was originally created in 2017, it was restricted purely to the EIA regulators within each country. But as of last year, when we revamped the site, we decided to expand that. And this was because of the PLP, as I explained, the Pacific Learning Partnership that we have with the World Bank and ADB. They have a lot of consultants who hold a wealth of knowledge, and we saw the importance of including them on the portal. So we have expanded the membership to allow consultants to participate and join with the proviso that they are not to advertise their services and promote their own practice on the site. So you're more than welcome to join the site and use the resources and share in the Talanoa. Just please don't try to sell your services directly. If you want to register as a consultant with SPREP, there is another site, which Ivan will explain shortly, where we have a registration of consultants that operate within the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Greg. Thank you, Patricia, for your question. Do we have any more questions? So we have a question here from Director Tia. She's asking, can everyone in our department access this portal, given that we do multitask work? Yes, Director. Everyone in your portal everyone in your department who works in the EIA field is welcome to join in and register for the portal. Okay. So thank you all participants for the questions. why don't we proceed? So now you're a member of the portal, you're registered and you're part of the PNEA community. So let's say, as we all know, our EIA practitioners here across the region usually face a lot of challenges with regards to EIA and the work that they do. So when you have a question or an issue, and you want to seek assistance from some of the in-house experts we have here at SPREP, how can you do that? Well, it's very simple. You can just go to the top of the page and find the request assistance link. Or optionally, you can also scroll down to the orange box here and click on the request assistance. These buttons do the exact same thing. So let me go ahead and click on request assistance. And immediately I will find myself on the request assistance page. Now, as you can see, you're able to ask for assistance with development or review of EIA or SEA legislation, preparation of terms of reference for EIA or SEA reports, review of EIA or SEA reports, writing approval conditions for new developments, EIA or SEA training and capacity building, and finding consultants to assist with EIA or SEA. Now, I must state, we here at SPREP don't do EIA reports or offer consultations or consultancy, but we can help to link you with some of the consultants in our networks. Additionally, like Greg just said, you can also find consultants by using the Regional Technical Support Mechanism under the Pacific Climate Change Forum, using the link here. Now, I won't go into much detail about that. If you need more information about that, you can always reach out to us and we'll be sure to help you. Now, in order to request for assistance, all you have to do is fill in the fields that you can see before you. I know some of you may be asking, why do I have to fill in the fields since I'm already registered on the portal? Well, this is because the request assistance feature is open to all individuals. It's open to the public. Anybody can simply log into the portal and make a request for assistance. You don't have to be registered in the portal. We do this so that we're able to assist all our practitioners across the region. Now, I can assure you that using the request assistance feature is very private. Your request goes directly to the EIA expert here at SPREP, and nobody else can see or get access to your request. So to make a request, all you have to do is again, enter your details, your first name, your last name, again, select your country from the list of SPREP member countries, enter your email address, your phone number, and in the last field here, this is where you provide your requests in as much detail as possible. Do not worry, the field can take a lot of characters, a lot of detail, so please write as much detail as you want. So once you've written your request, go ahead and click to complete your capture and simply click on the submit button. Now, once you do that, your request will be sent to a PNEA coordinator who will be in touch shortly to offer you assistance and discuss about the types of needs that you may require. And that's simply how to request assistance on the portal. Very simple and very straightforward. Let me take a pause here and see if any of our participants have any questions regarding requesting assistance on the PNEA portal. Hello, Immaculata. I think that name is very familiar, and I believe, yes, you are on the PNEA. So thank you for being a PNEA member. Thank you, Director Tilia, for registering. We welcome you, and we're glad to have you on the PNEA. Okay, it seems that's all the questions we have. I think we just got a question from Claire Forbes. She's asking, what about assistance for troubleshooting projects that sit outside the bullet points. Again, let me pass that to Dr. Greg to answer. She's asking if she can assist with. Yeah.
That would, yeah, thank you. Thanks, Claire. That would depend on what the actual question is. If it falls within the remit of our skill set, if it's related to environmental impacts or how to deal with environmental impacts, or perhaps a legislative question to do with how to navigate the legislation within a country, we may be able to assist, but it really depends on the actual question. Yeah, thanks, Claire. And what's more, if we don't know the answer, if it doesn't fall within us, we'll do our best to try and point you to where you can find the answer. But as Ivan said, please make sure that you put your full details in there when you're making the request, as much information as possible, because we do get bots on the site just spamming us with requests. So if the request doesn't make sense, once we've read it, we'll probably pass it over. Or if we respond back to the email and we get no response back and we start getting spammed, obviously we'll block that account going forward. So just make sure when you're putting your request through, make it as clear as possible what you're asking.
Thank you, Dr. Barbara. And thank you to all our participants for the very engaging questions. Please continue to ask any questions that you may have. All right, let us move on. So, what if you have a question or an idea that you want to share and discuss with the PNEA community? Perhaps you don't want to go directly to an EIA expert here at SPREP, but you want to pick the brain of some of the experts and users that we have on the portal who have perhaps had similar challenges and worked on similar projects. Now, this is where the PNEA discussion forum truly shines. The PNEA discussion forum facilitates discussions, conversations, expertise sharing between EIA practitioners from the region and beyond. Now remember, in order to access the discussion forum of the PNEA, you have to be a registered member. So once you're registered on the portal, in order to access the discussion forum, just navigate to the top of the page. You'll find the discussion link right there. Just go ahead and click on that, and that will take you to the PNEA discussion forum. Now, immediately you might be wondering, why does this look different from the PNEA portal? This is because the Talanoa platform is a SPREP platform that is designed to host all the discussion for SPREP's portals, projects, and programs. So the PNEA also has a discussion page that is hosted on the Talanoa. Sorry, Edward, I'll get to your question shortly after we discuss about the discussion forum. Please bear patience. So, why don't we go through some of the elements on the Talanoa forum? First, you can see this box here. This tells you which discussion forum you're currently on. As you can see, we are on the discussion forum for the Pacific Network for Environmental Assessment. We also have here the discussion forum for the Inform project, the Pacific Island Protected Area portal. And these are all SPREP's portals and projects. And they also have a discussion forum posted on the Talanoa forum. Now, if you look closely, I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a little lock icon next to the PNEA discussion forum. Now, this is because the PNEA discussion forum, unlike most of the other discussion forums, is only accessible to our registered members. Only PNEA members can access and make discussions and have conversations. Again, we've done this to make sure that the portal is safe and it's only available for our members to share and connect freely and openly and not worried about the public or anybody else sort of coming into the discussion. Okay, so looking down here, you can find all the discussions in the portal. Now here on the top, there's two buttons, the latest and the top. Now this is used to sort the discussions, either based on which discussion is the latest you can click on the latest, and all the discussion will be sorted based on which ones were recently created. Or you can either click on the top button to sort the discussions based on those that have the most engagement. So those that have the most views and have the most likes would appear first. Now on the top right, you also have a search button where you can search all the discussions in the forum. We also have a menu here where again you can find some of the discussion forum for other SPREP's portals, projects, as well as sorting your topics in. Lastly, we have your account menu here. Again, here, the first button here, you'll find your account notifications. If you have any notification, it will appear here. Next, you have your bookmarks. This is where you save topics that you want to read later or you want to reply to later. I'll show you how to save topics as bookmarks. You also have messages here, where you receive messages from the account, telling you how your account is progressing. And lastly, we have your account menu, where you can see a summary of your account, your activity, the drafts you're working on, also your account preferences, where you can change your photo and change your account name if you need, and also a logout button, where you can log out from the portal. This is simply the elements on the page, nothing much. It's very simple and very straightforward. Now, if you want to create a new topic or start a conversation in the portal, all you have to do is move over to the new topic button. Click on that, and a little panel will pop up from the bottom of the page. Now, in this panel, you can enter any topic that you want to discuss or any conversation that you want to start. So as an example, let me just write a brief topic here. So here I ask, how can you integrate the soil erosion of a proposed hydroelectric project into an EIA report? Now in the field right here, the panel here, you can provide more information for your discussion. Now this panel might appear a little small, so you may want to enlarge it. To do that, you just go to the right here and click on the full screen button. That will make the panel full screen and large enough for you to write your topic. So here, I'll just write details about my topic. Now, as you can see, you also have the ability to format your text. So for example, if you want to make your text bold, you can go ahead and highlight the text and click on the bold button. You can also italicize your text by clicking on the italics button. Now on the right here, this panel shows you how your text will look like after it is formatted. This box is where you write your text, and on the right is where you see how it looks like. Now you also have the option to add links. You can click on the link button, and you can copy and paste any link you want to. You want to link a document or link other members to any resource that you're pointing to. You can go ahead and put that in as a link. Now you can also upload documents or images to accompany your post. To do that, you just click on the file upload button here, navigate to your computer and find whichever document or photo you want to add to your post, and just select that. Now, for those of you like me who love to use emojis, luckily you also have the option to use emojis here. This is actually very good because it enables you to personify your text, so you don't seem very aggressive or very aggressive or very angry on the portal. It's also good. It's always good to use emojis to discuss for participants. Let me just state that the file upload is limited to 4 megabytes. So please, you can't upload large files when using the portal, only small files or just small images. Okay. So once you're done formatting your text and everything is to your taste, you can go ahead and minimize the panel again, show up at the bottom. And once your post is to your taste, you can go ahead and click on the little blue create topic button. And voila, your topic is now posted and on the Talanoa forum, and other users can see and reply or engage with your post. That's how simple it is to make a post on Talanoa. You may be thinking, so how can I reply or interact with other conversations, other discussions? Again, that's very simple. Just find a topic that you want to reply to or like. Beneath the topic, you see sorry, let me use another topic in this case. Yes, let me find this topic. So as you can see here, below each topic, there's a couple of icons that you can use to interact with the post. So first, you can like the post by clicking on this heart icon. You can also share the post with other users or friends of yours. But remember, anyone you share the link with has to be a PNEA member in order to be able to access that link or that discussion. Click on these three dots, you get some further options. One is you can flag a post. So maybe if you do find a post on the Talanoa that is off topic, or you find inappropriate, or it's something else that you don't think should be on there, you can always flag the post and notify us, and we'll take a look at the post and remove it if necessary, or request that the user edits your post. And lastly, you can also bookmark a topic. So if you find a topic that is interesting and you want to reply later, or you want to read again later, you can always click on this bookmark link and save, and the post will be saved to your bookmarks. You just click on your account here and go to your bookmarks, and here you have all the posts that your bookmarks saved. And lastly, you can also reply to any discussion in the forum by simply clicking on the reply button. Again, as you can see, the little panel pops up, and here you can enter any reply that you want to. Once you're done, just click on reply, and your reply is posted. And that is simply how to use the Talanoa discussion forum. Again, it's very simple and it's very straightforward. We welcome our users to always come and make use of this great resource. So before I proceed, let me ask again if any of our participants have any questions regarding using the Talanoa discussion forum. So we have a question from Edward Danny Tofea, and I'll pass that question to Dr. Barber.
Okay, thank you, Edward, and great to hear from you. I hope things are going well in the Solomons. Yes, so I understand, yes, the question, you've got lots of qualified people in the country, but not necessarily with EIA experience and how to conduct them. So how do they become a practitioner? So as you know, we've conducted a number of trainings there in the Solomons in the past. So we'd run future trainings, they could come along to those and learn more about EIA. But as Ivan said, the PNEA registration is really open to anyone. They can join the PNEA provided that they can complete the requirements, and we vet them to prove that they're not just there to sell or market things. They can then start using the PNEA to school themselves up with all the resources that Ivan will shortly take you through that are available on the site, and start requesting assistance. We can also hold a separate Talanoa with you, Edward, later to discuss your specific needs for the Solomon Islands capacity building, which we could probably map out maybe a more detailed training program for you. I hope that answers your question. Okay, are all topics public? No, they're not, Betwin. As Ivan said, it's a fairly closed forum, but if you go to the PNEA homepage, the top topics, the most discussed, or maybe the hottest topic, will be highlighted on the PNEA homepage. There's usually about 3 or 4 of those that are shown in that purple box at any one time, but the people who see that can't necessarily access those forum discussions unless they're a PNEA member and they register and log in to view them. So your discussions within the Talanoa for the PNEA are completely secure amongst the registered members only. So they're not going to go public at all. But they are visible to all members of the actual forum. So I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you, Dr. Barbara, and thank you, Edward, for the question. So it seems we have no more questions. So let's proceed. Now, how do you navigate back to the PNEA portal for the Talanoa? So instead of going to your browser and typing in the address again or using the back button several times, you can just go ahead and click on the Pacific Network for Environmental Assessment link right here. Just click on that. You will find yourself back in the list of topics. So just find the topic that says welcome to the Pacific Network for Environmental Assessment discussion. Click on that topic. And here at the top, you'll find a link that takes you straight back to the PNEA portal. So let's click on that. And voila, we find ourselves back on the PNEA portal. So there's one more tool on the PNEA that is designed to assist our EIA practitioners from the region. Now, as we've discussed, one of the core functions of the PNEA portal is to provide resources to guide and assist our regional EIA practitioners. Now, the resource library is one of such tools. The resource library is a repository for a wide range of documents and materials, ranging from EIA reports, national legislations and regulations, best practice manuals and guidelines, and so much more. The idea behind the resource library is that whenever or wherever you may need to find or reference an EIA report or legislation or any EIA guideline, the PNEA resource library can be a one-stop shop where you can find all these resources in the same place. But again, remember, in order to access the resource library, you must be registered on the portal. So once you're a member of the portal, to access the resource library, just go to the top of the page and you find the resource library link. Go ahead and click on that. And that should take you to the PNEA resource library. As you can see, we have around 366 results here, but very soon we're expecting to have over 1,000 resources on the portal. Now, the resources on the portal are fairly simple. You can see them all here. But how do you find a particular resource that you're looking for? One of the best ways to do that is to use the search function. So at the top of the page, there is a search box. Sorry, the presentation is a little slow compared to my screen. But yeah, at the top of the page, we have a little search box here, and you can use this to search or find for resources that may interest you. So for example, what if I'm trying to find the Nauru Environmental Management and Climate Change Act 2020? Just go ahead and type in Nauru Act, hit enter, and immediately the first result I get there is the Nauru Environmental Management Climate Change Act 2020. What if I'm trying to find SPREP guidelines for coastal tourism development in the Pacific Island countries and territories? Let's go ahead and type in EIA guidelines. Hit enter. And immediately you see some options, also results regarding EIA. And here we have environmental impact assessment guidelines for coastal tourism development, Pacific Island countries and territories. Now, if you're to download this file, just go ahead and click on it. It's going to open the file and you have a brief synopsis or abstract on the file. At the bottom here, you have a file link. So you want to download the file, just go ahead and click on that link. And that will open, and yes, that will open the document for you. So now you can download the button, you can download the document if you need, and you're free to access the document. That's how easy it is to find resources on the PNEA resource library. Now you can also use filters to filter topics. So perhaps you're trying to find topics that are related to the built environment or land or coastal and marine environment. You can go ahead and tick on any of those boxes and you get access to those documents. You can also filter based on the tags. So maybe you want to find documents that are related to EIA. You can go ahead and filter by clicking in that button. You can also find guidelines by clicking the tags for that. And lastly, you can also sort the contents based on the publisher. So maybe you want to find documents that are published by SPREP. You can go ahead and click on that button. If you want to find documents from the United Nations Environmental Program, similarly, you can click on that button, you'll find all those documents. And that is simply the resource library. It's very simple, very intuitive, and welcome you all to go ahead and register and explore the resource library. Let me take a break here again and see if any of our participants have any questions regarding using the PNEA resource library. Is that a question? Thank you, Williame, for joining us, and we also wish you all the best. Thank you. Questions? Okay, it seems we have no questions. So that is all for the live demo of the PNEA portal. But I have a few more topics to discuss with you. So let me just navigate back to the slides here. All right. So yes, so I also like to discuss briefly on the PNEA newsletter and the PNEA mail blast. So to facilitate regular engagement with the community and to keep the community informed and engaged, PNEA members receive monthly newsletters and regular email blasts. Now, the PNEA newsletters contain updates for the community on news, recent and upcoming events, highlights, new trainings, scholarship and training opportunities, and so much more. We also have what we call a member spotlight feature on the newsletter, where we shine a spotlight on one of our practitioners, one of our members on the PNEA, giving them the opportunity to share their work and share a little bit about their personal life with the community. As you can see on the screen here, we have the amazing Tamara Louis spotlighted in our August issue for the newsletter. She was able to share a little bit about herself and the work that she does with PUMA here in Samoa. Also, in the September issue of the PNEA newsletter, we had a spotlight on Dr. Gillian Brothy, who is the Deputy Director for Institute of Applied Science at the University of South Pacific in Fiji. Dr. Gillian Brothy is a well-known biologist here in the Pacific, and she's been practicing here for over 30 years. Next, the email blast. I used to share exciting opportunities and regularly update the community with new case studies or anything that is going on in the EIA space. The difference between the PNEA newsletter and email blast is that the email blasts are more regular. Whenever we have any opportunities that come to us, we try to disseminate it with the community as quick as possible. While a newsletter is monthly and we share sort of the events or news that occurred within that month cycle. And that is all for the PNEA newsletter. Now, the last agenda I'd like to discuss today is how can our users contribute to this community of practice that we're trying to build. So, as you may all know, as you may all know, a true community of practice works well only with the participation and the contribution of members. The PNEA has been designed from the ground up to serve regional EIA practitioners. I want to make sure that it meets their needs and it benefits their practice. So how can you in turn contribute to what we're trying to do with the portal and help us grow and expand this network? So firstly, we welcome you to share any available EIA reports that you may have, and also new and updated environmental legislations and regulations from your countries. If you do have approvals to share this with us, please welcome you to share with us so we can put it on the resource library, and other users, as well as yourself, can be able to access and make use of these resources. Next, we also encourage and welcome our members to share updates, such as photos and highlights of the projects they're working on. We can help you by highlighting all your work on the PNEA carousel slide, and so that you can share the community and tell them what you're engaged with and what you're doing. Next, we also encourage our members to contribute to discussions in the Talanoa forum. Share your ideas, your expertise, or if you have any questions, please do share and ask with the community so that we can create a true community of practice where we're all learning from one another. And lastly, we encourage our members to also be respectful, understanding, courteous, and helpful when on the PNEA forum. We want to build a community of practice that truly works and serves our needs. So we welcome you all to help us by being very engaging, being thoughtful, and being helpful to other members on the portal. Now that is it from me, and I thank you all for listening to me as I talk about the PNEA portal and some of the tools and resources that we have on the portal. Let me see if any of our members have any questions before I pass it on to Anastasia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diarra, for an in-depth step-by-step demonstration of the PNEA portal. Excuse me. I am sure our participants have gained further insight and understanding into the portal and how to effectively use it. I now invite our acting director, Mr. Trope David-Anibalu, to take the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. And yes, for this session, as part of the program, is for us to engage in a Talanoa. And we are so happy that, yes, to start off with our Talanoa session, we have a question raised from Tilia Tima. Boleh benar, Director? And yes, the question is, the questions are, how can we share resources? Is it linked to the info portal? And may I ask Dr. Craig, please. Will you start this session with answering that question, please?
Banaka Joppa, Banaka. Yeah, great question there, Director Tima. Yes, members can share resources. Unfortunately, they can't directly upload them unless they are small items, as I've explained in the Talanoa. You can share some files less than 4 megs. But if you send them through to Ivan or myself, we can upload them for you because with a blurb about what they are, because we like to make the items searchable. The search function requires a specific tags, and so there's a number of metrics that we have to have in there. So we prefer to put them on the site ourselves. Similar to when the Inform portal was first set up, the Inform team took the countries through the way of documenting their resources on this and make it much easier for people to access them during the search functions. It is also linked to the Inform portal, the regional Inform portal, not the country Inform portals, and as well as the SPREP virtual library. And as Ivan said, we're looking to have at least 1,000 articles on there soon. This is because we data harvest from those two portals as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Craig, for raising that. And we noticed that yes, there's another question here, Patricia Bulevinaka, and the question is: can members add resources? How is it the same question?
It's Banaka Joppa. I think it's pretty much the same question. Patricia, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I might have just answered that for Director Tima. But if there was something else you wanted to add to that question, it's Talanoa, so please add in. Might I also say we did have another country representative who was meant to join us today, Director Perez from Tokelau. They've been having some internet issues there. He did message me a little while ago trying to re-establish the link. I'm not sure if he's managed to get himself online. We might just have a quick check to see if he's there, because I did know he wanted to share something. No, he hasn't managed to log in, fortunately. Okay.
Thank you, Craig. And yes, colleagues, I noticed in terms of time, it's over 2 hours now engaging in this session. And yes, there's another question raised here. It looks like I have to log into the Inform portal to get data from the resource library. Yes, how can, please, Craig, can you
Okay.
know in this question or statement raised, please?
Thank you, Betwin. I'm not sure if you're on the right portal then, because the Inform portal, although linked to the PNEA, is a separate portal again. So if you're on the Inform portal, you'd have to go through their process for searching for the resources you're looking for. But if you're logged into the PNEA site, and let me just do a quick check to see if you're actually in there. And I can see everybody who's accessed it in the last few minutes. I don't believe you actually are registered on the PNEA, but not in it. Yeah, not actually in there. So if you want to access the resources on there, you don't need to log into the Inform portal. You just go straight throughout. Can you expand on the database of experts you can refer to? Thank you, Patricia. Yes, through the PLP, that's the Pacific Learning Partnership, SPREP has access to the World Bank and Asia Development Bank. We can post and forward questions on to them and their expansive numbers of consultants and professionals that they have operating in the region, as well as globally, depending on the question that you have. But before we do that, we always ask if we can share the question further.
Thank you, Craig. And shall we move on? And yes, there's a question here raised by Claire Forbes. Do you plan on having a Pacific-wide Talanoa for the PNA community of practice, given the limitations we have with COVID?
well, it's kind of what we're doing right now, Claire. So we have to do everything virtually at the moment, or are you talking about doing a face-to-face as we did before? Because that's what we do with these webinars, is we have these Talanoas during the webinars to give our members an opportunity to converse.
Yes.
Yep, thank you, Betwin. I can also see, yes, you are on there. But to access the resources, you should just be able to click on the resource button and go in. You don't have to then go through. I can see you on there now. And yes, Claire, yes, future webinars, we will be running more webinars. Are there any more questions?
Thank you, Claire.
Okay, colleagues, this webinar has to come to an end. And yes, I must take this time to thank you for all your patience and participation in this Talanoa or webinar training on the PNEA. And it is indeed a pleasure for me to make a few reflections on some of the highlights of the presentation and the discussion that took place today. And first, yes, colleagues, the Pacific Network of Environment Assessment is a commitment by SPREP as the Secretariat through a request from all you member countries on, say, visioning the importance of this kind of platform in strengthening network. And when we come to this, the new norm that we are going through, and again, I, on behalf of the Director General, would like to thank you sincerely that through that visionary thinking of the members, we kind of felt that yes, this platform is working out really well. And in the presentation this morning, we also noticed that this PNEA network website was launched in 2016. But from the team here, we would like to acknowledge the work that was carried out before 2016, because it established the thinking from the member countries that raised it to the Secretariat on the importance of this environment that we are in and the type of tools that will be needed to assist us in raising our capacity. Yes, thank you to our members who have registered. Thank you to CREP for raising these some important figures. In 2017, we have 18. And it's so, we are so happy to know today that in this year, we've got 230 members. And I do hope that I have a positive feeling that after this webinar, we will be having more members to utilize or to use the PNEA website. And a good question was raised by Patricia Parkinson on what are some of the gaps? What are some of the gaps that needs to be addressed in strengthening environment assessment in the region? And hearing from the presentations from the country perspectives and the discussions that took place, yes, we address most of those issues. We talk about political, talk about legal, enforcement. Yes, monitoring was raised, and the review of environment reports, and the existing of the qualified environment consultants within member countries, amongst many other issues that you and I know, or you and the SPREP team knows, that are still areas that needs to be addressed. Colleagues, we listen to the three perspectives of the countries on what their thoughts are on the PNEA. Thank you to Director Environment in Tuvalu. Tima, thank you so much for raising with listeners today the excellent development in Tuvalu in recognizing the importance of establishing the proper environment assessment policy to monitor or to assist decision making in the numerous development ongoing in Tuvalu. Thank you, Tilia, and your SPREP team standby to further support you on your needs. And to you, Norma, Vinakalewa, thank you so much for the talk this morning. And we like the laugh. We like the laugh that you shared with us in your presentation. And especially the example that you raised way back in 2017 and 2018 on the example on the 6-story building. Colleagues, that is an excellent testimony on why this platform is very, very helpful. And we are so happy too that we have Madam Tamara here from the PUMA agency here in Samoa. Colleagues, for your information, PUMA is under a different ministry altogether, the Ministry of Works. And for us to go through the government of Samoa, we go through the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. And today, to have a different ministry to come and share the perspective of environment assessment in this PNEA discussion, that reveals the importance of other sectors and other agencies in this area of environment assessment. And she raised some very excellent point, which your secretariat will take on board to improve on this network. To raise a few, the importance of data and case studies. The PNEA to be customized to suit our region. So these are few excellent points that were raised by Madam Tamara from the Samoa perspective. And yes, colleagues, thanks to Mr. Ivan Diarra, colleagues, that is a sign of commitment by SPREP in engaging or using the expertise of Ivan Diarra to come and take us improve this network for you members and also within here at SPREP. And thank you, Diarra, for sharing with us the importance or the knowledge on how we can register, how can we raise questions, how can we raise discussions, how can we share documents, and of course, the available resources in this network. Colleagues, I would like to add on also another highlight of the discussion today, which it's kind of a transformation from this network into what is next. And it was raised, this is in line with the question raised from my colleagues in the Solomon on how can we improve on practitioners. And Craig has raised this on the Pacific PLP ESS partnership between World Bank, ADB, SPREP, and USP. There is an idea of strengthening, mentoring, and coaching methodology where we deal one-to-one basis with member countries on how we can improve their knowledge and capacity in the area of environment assessment. Those are some of the highlights, and there are many others. So I thought of raising those few ones to reflect back on the training that we went through this morning. Colleagues, and I again, on behalf of the Director General, would like to sincerely say for your engagement. To you PNEA members who are already registered and those who are ready to register, thank you so much for your engagement. And also I noticed that there are a few consultants who are part of this webinar today. To you, Patricia and Claire, Rombula, and thank you so much for joining us today. And a special acknowledgement to our 3 country representatives, the government of Tuvalu and the government of Samoa. Your engagement with SPREP today is greatly appreciated. And it just shows to us your commitment to this area of environment assessment. To Mr. Lewata Kosilatu, the Director General, unfortunately, he has to leave for another immediate engagement, but we'll convey our appreciation to him for his leadership in making this network a reality now. And finally, colleagues, to my EMG team, thank you. Thank you, our team, for this service. And we are not ending here. and there is more to come. And just to add on to my appreciation to the team, I would like to acknowledge the support from two very important projects in the Pacific. That is the INFORM project and the ACP-MEA Phase 3 project. And to the coordinators of this project, thank you so much for supporting environment assessment in the region. And I've been given a note just to remind all of you, my good colleagues, brothers and sisters, the next webinar, GIS and World Bank, will be taking place in 2 weeks' time. And please, we will be posting this in the network and also sending out emails to inform you on the development of this particular webinar. So Claire, you're asking about webinar, future webinar. So this is one of them, which we would like all of you to come and learn and share, because we also would like to learn from your experience. I'm talking a lot here, and I'm Stan here, and a big Whakatai lover from Apia. And you do have a lovely weekend. And for us here in Apia, we will also enjoy our long weekend, because it is White Sunday and a weekend especially for our children. With those few remarks, and thank you very much.